radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
All right. Good evening, Fade to Black. How you doing? Today is Monday, July 14th, 2025. Let's do this, man. Yeah, I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This week, brand new week on Fade to Black tonight, Dr. Tracy Fanara is with us. We're going to be talking about Gaia Theory and a whole bunch of other fun stuff. Tomorrow night, Scott Wolter is here, the Lewis and Clark Secret Vault. Wednesday night, Dr. Heather Lynn is back with us, DMT, Consciousness, and Tech. Thursday night, Christopher Jordan is here talking about who is the citizen scientist. Well, the citizen scientist is you. That's right. I have one major event coming up. It is the Psi Games, the Psychic Olympics, coming up this August 1st through the 3rd, 2025 in Charlottesville, Virginia. And the links for everything are below. This is the Psychic Olympics, and I am the Psychic Game Show host. So come on out and hang out with us. In the description below, we now have a discount code for you to use. And I think it's Jimmy C PG20. Yeah, I think it's all caps. But the links for that are below, so you can use that for your tickets. And I'll see everybody out there at the end of this month or the beginning of next month. It's August 1st through the 3rd. But of course, I'm leaving before then. So for me, it's at the end of this month, and it's just 2 short weeks away. Very excited about this event. All right, we have a fresh week of Fade to Black coming up, and I am back from filming more episodes of Beyond Belief. And everybody, this season of Beyond Belief is going to be absolutely amazing. I am looking forward to all of this and just getting the reaction from yourself and the community about Beyond Belief. This is really, really, really cool. So go and check out Gaia. And if you don't have a subscription, the links for everything are below. You can use the Into the Vortex, my other series there on Gaia. You can use that link, go over, get registered, and get your account over at Gaia so you can go and check out all of the new episodes of Beyond Belief that are starting to trickle out now. We had the premiere a couple of weeks ago while I was in Peru, by the way. I was in Peru. I wasn't here for the premiere, and kind of bummed me out that I wasn't here hanging out with the community. I was trekking up some mountain in Peru, having a good time, but missing out on everything that was happening here. But yeah, so the first episode is out. You can check that out. And head over to Gaia and get registered. All right. Let's go. Let's start another week. Dr. Tracy Fanara is with us tonight. Now, I've called this show Gaia Theory, but that is a broad umbrella. And we're going to be going through all of that. We're going to be talking about our planet as a conscious system, our future. We're going to be talking about that. Geoengineering, another huge subject for us around here in this community. And besides that, and the climate, but pole shifts, right? All of these things is her passion. So we're going to be doing that. She is an environmental engineer. She's a scientist, a professor, a storm chaser, and a TV personality dedicated to sustainable solutions for global health and challenges. She's a University of Florida graduate with a PhD in environmental engineering, and I would like to welcome for the first time to Fade to Black, Dr. Tracy Fanara. She's right there. Tracy, good evening. Oh, I should have said doctor. Doctor.
It's quite all right.
I should have said doctor. Tracy,
if you have a heart attack, I can't save your life. So
yeah,
it's problematic.
Every doctor. So I just got back from Peru, and on the tour with us was a cardiologist out of Texas. His name is Jude, really cool guy. And I asked him that question. I go, dude, do you tell everybody you're a doctor? Because doesn't everybody go, I got this thing? And he goes, yes, man. And he said, I'm a heart doctor, I'm a cardiologist. But if somebody's got a foot problem, a toothache, they ask me what the cure is. I think, man, that's just got to get exhausting. And so if you have PhD there, people just assume that you can fix their lower back problems, right?
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Or it kind of sounds snobby too,
It does. Well, you've earned the snobbiness.
Right.
I don't have a PhD. I play one on TV, but I don't have a PhD. But when you get to that point in life, you've been through the educational system, you've been on track, and to get to that point, I mean, hats off, right? It's a lot of work.
It is. And it means that you actually contributed something to science that no one ever has before. And that's the cool part.
Okay. I've got so many questions for you, but we've got to get the first time guest disclaimer out of the way. All right. Now see if I just made the doctor nervous. But it's this. Tracy, it's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends. And where that conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends. But we're going to end as friends. Now, you have to accept so we can move on.
I accept.
Okay. Explain. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about, but let's stay with your PhD for a second. You had to have guidance, right? You had to have another PhD guide you through the process, and then you have to write certain things and submit them. With your education track, what was your thesis on? What did you write about?
So my journey was a little interesting. My professor got fired pretty early on. So I was pretty much on my own. No one else had done the things that I had done because I had worked in the field. I was a modeler, civil engineer, and I went back to school. So I had skills that the other professors just weren't familiar with. So I kind of did it myself. But when I was in land development, I just realized how much we were mismanaging our land. We were just completely irresponsible with our building. And I saw all of our problems coming down the road. 10 years later, I end up being, an expert in the Florida water crisis, which was the result of a number of things, including natural and man-made phenomena. But it inspired me to go back to school to figure out a better way to do land development.
How challenging is it? Because it's always a funding environment challenge, right? Okay, so I understand that. But how challenging is it to stay in your lane and not drive off the road into other things when you have an open mind?
Wow, it's like me. That was the most challenging thing for me. My committee kept on putting the bumpers on the bowling alley lanes for me because I was like, I think that there needs to be a communication piece because we could have all the science, but it doesn't matter if we're not communicating it. And they're like, you're not a social scientist. We don't even know how to grade that. Just stay. And then especially with environmental science, I was doing everything from storm chasing to water quality to ecosystem change to building and construction. There's so many tangents to go off on.
It's an easy. I'm gonna take the pun. I'm gonna go with the pun. You're dealing with water, but you're not allowed to make ripples. You like that? Huh?
I like it. I like it.
But that's exactly the case, isn't it?
Yeah. On the other hand, it's almost like if you play with water, you're bound to make ripples.
Well, see, and why is it that I'm going to throw you a softball?
Yeah.
Why is it that it used to be? I'm going to say it stopped at Isaac Newton. That's my thing. Maybe 300 years ago, but up till then, having a creative mind in the world of science, it doesn't matter if it was medicine or the cosmos, it doesn't really matter, physics, that you could be everything. You could have religion involved, right? You could have maybe some of the esoteric things involved. But if you thought outside of the box, that was okay. Today, science isn't about that anymore. And how can you go and expand if you don't allow your mind to go in other places? Why did this change happen?
Oh, I think we're going to be friends long past this podcast. You are speaking my language. Actually, in one of the talks that I give students, I tell them how I went into engineering because I thought it was all about creativity and science, because it would use all these parts of your brain and explore all of these things that no one else has. And then you get into it and you realize the monotony. And with that monotony starts to come arrogance, because you're doing the same thing all the time. So of course you're right. You're staying within the lanes. You know, you're using equations that are always true. It's when you expand past that. And I think that ecologists are the one environmental science that really get that, because some people consider that a soft science because you can't test one thing in a lab. That's not how ecology works. It's the combination and the moving parts of all of these things with so many unknowns. Everything that you add is another whole suite of unknowns. So I think that ecologists are really the creatives that are changing the game right now, back to where we were.
Okay. I love where this is going. So you did drive your car off the freeway. And when so let's explore that a little bit. Tonight, we're going to be talking about Mother Earth and consciousness and the connectivity of all of that and what it really means. But how do you, as a PhD, talk about a planet that has consciousness and that is sentient? Because that is way outside of the box, isn't it?
You know, there's this theory in trigonometry that if A equals C and B equals C, then A equals B, right? So if all of these things that exist in the world have consciousness, then why wouldn't all of them combine? Does that make sense?
Look, here's the thing. The answer. Okay, so now you're the show host and asking me questions. I like how you just turned that around. But Tracy, that's a really great point, and I'm stuck in the middle with that. All right,
Yeah.
And let me explain. The reason why I'm stuck in the middle is I ask every guest what their definition of consciousness is, and we'll get to that in a second with you. But if consciousness is everywhere and exists outside of the body, which I think is a very real possibility, then we have that on one side of the fence. And then if we go with the pragmatic side of science, which doesn't like to discuss consciousness, but their overarching theory is that maybe there is a little piece of consciousness in every particle. So you amass enough particles together, consciousness arises out of that, like our brains or this alien hacky sack or what have, or our Earth or the sun. Now that makes sense to me too. I don't know if we can have both, but I'm awaiting some kind of answer. So I'm staying in the middle, but I can go in either direction, right? So I'm okay with either take, right? But I'm not so sure what the real answer is.
You know, I don't think, I mean, obviously I don't either. I know there's so many unknowns here, but it's interesting because I was looking, this tree behind me, I keep on getting these little gnats that just will not stop. And every single time they hatch, they know exactly where to go. Like, it's the weirdest thing to me. And I don't think that they're consciously thinking about it. I think it's more of an instinct. And then same thing with flowers, how they turn towards the sun, and all of these things. Like, that definition of consciousness, I think, is really important when you're defining this. But I grew up Catholic. I have always been, I was ghost hunter at 9 years old. Like, I know that believing in science means that there are things that you don't know, that you're still trying to find out. And for me, like, my new kind of idea of what God is kind of that fabric or mesh that connects everything in the world. And that's where I know that we humanize the idea of God all the time, but it's, to me, if there is a consciousness, that's what it is. That connection between all of these things to create this balance. And then, with Bible verses or whatever religion, every single religion warns us of harming the earth. And
here, that's fascinating to me, and I'll explain why. Vegetarians, vegans, yes, I can pull them into the mix. So let's talk about vegans for a second. You point out the plant behind you, right? Okay, sentient beings. What is that, and what has consciousness? Well, and the arguments that vegans in that circle will present is about harming sentient animals. And I will suggest that plants have feelings too. And I don't want to harm a plant. I think that plant is screaming if we go up and just snap a limb, right? You can probably hear their little voice just, don't do it. And ripping off an ear of corn for your meal, I don't think that plant enjoyed that. But it's the transference of energy. Right. It's how we exist. Energy goes from one thing and goes into another. And that is a crazy thought. Like, is everything conscious? Maybe, right?
And everything is the same thing. That's never that's everlasting life right there. If you think about it, that cycle of energy and of nutrients, carbon, all of those things, that's the idea of never dying, immortality. And it's interesting with plants, right? Because I've had this feeling or this thought, and I can't close the gap. Maybe you can help. So plants, trees, they've been around a lot longer than us, right?
Yep.
So they have evolved and naturally selected and all of these things to use the least amount of energy as possible to get the job done. What if they're just so much more evolved than us? You know what I mean?
Oh, trees have got it all figured out. Oh, definitely. I think about that all the time. And I didn't used to have that mindset. I don't know if it develops as you get older and you mature, or maybe it's my knowledge base. But when I started growing plants at my house, trees, and planting flowers and different things, and watching them growing weed, I don't smoke pot, but growing weed, it's a beautiful plant, right? So anyway, you're growing these things and you start to get attached. You do, just like having a puppy or a kitten, and you watch it grow, you become attached to it. And I did that with plants. I thought, man, I ride a Harley and I walk around in my yard talking to plants. It's just like, what's happening here? What happened to me? I used to be somebody else, but I totally see that now. Don't you?
Yes. And the thing is, plants are responding. They're like communicating with you by how they're reacting to how they're receiving the things that they need to survive. Like dogs, like my dog's in so much pain in her hips, you would never know. She's just going to jump around and be crazy. A plant's not putting up with that. And I think that's like that kind of sensitive communication that you get with plants and flowers that's why a lot of people don't do it. It's a challenge. It's a challenge to keep them alive.
Now, if Earth is sentient and it's just a big ball of consciousness, are we seeing a pissed off Earth today? Is it angry
That's a good
at us for
question.
what we? Yeah.
That's a good question, because I've never pictured there being emotion involved. Rather almost like, I'm telling you this is a bad idea. You're seeing that this is a bad idea. If you continue to do this, I mean, it's a bad idea for you. I'm going to survive. It's you that's going to have a harder life. So it's almost like the way that I see it is not emotional, more like matter of fact. And we're the ones that just get rid of energy and with emotion, because we're not as evolved as a tree.
We're not. And, what's the old saying? It's something like, you can't mess with Mother Nature, right? And if there's one thing, as smart as we are in the things that we can do and everything, we can't outrun if Mother Nature goes, right? That's it. We can't survive that if it goes down that road. How many extinction events have we had way before technology was ever on this planet?
Right. A whole bunch. But now the question is, was it the time that the Earth would have naturally had an extinction? And at what rate? Are we accelerating that?
You tell me. That's a great point.
I think absolutely. Because any time that think about this, the base of our ecosystem is really those bacteria. Bacteria, they make up everything. Without this balance of bacteria, the rest of the ecosystem would just completely collapse. So you think about what people put on their lawns, even herbicides, insecticides, fertilizer, that changes that microbiome. The plastic that we're adding. I mean, we have apparently the amount of a plastic spoon in our brains. All of this stuff, it's changing that base. And it's like everything balances for a while. Okay, you get the negative feedback, you get these changes that are balancing it, making sure everything homeostasis, everything's trying to reach stability, and then you hit a point where that can't happen anymore. Kind of like you have some iced tea, it's got ice in it, it's exposed to the sun, that iced tea will stay the same temperature until all the ice is gone, and then all of a sudden it heats up like crazy. It's a tipping point.
Well, what does it take for awareness to grab us? I'm going to say something. I don't want you to be offended, okay? But this was a press release, and we, and especially men, we ignore stuff until we get something scared into us, right? All right. So then this press release comes out last month, and I had seen a couple reports on this study prior to the press release. I saw it coming, but the press release said, and this is how you scare the crap out of every man on this planet: we have plastics in our testicles. Right? And now, what? Right? And that will get the attention of half of this planet fairly quickly. It should, right?
Yeah, you would think, but then they're like, it's like a shock factor, and then I think that people are desensitized to certain things. They're like, well, nothing's happened to me, so I guess I'm okay. Well, and the thing is, like, in doing studies with butterflies and birds and stuff like that, like, it's never the first it's a slow burn, right? It's either it impacts these animals later in life, or it's like the next generation or the generation after that, and the accumulation of the impacts and the DNA change that goes along with it. So it is alarming, but it's like, what can you do about it? So I think that.
Yeah, well, okay, here we are. now starting to understand how perfect the ecosystem is and Mother Nature and this planet. It figured out everything, every stage from the macro to the micro, all the way up to the most extreme apex predator, and everything in between is in balance. There was another press release last week, and I'm sure you were aware of it, that 70% of our honeybee population died last year, right? And the year before that, it was 60%. And then they found that we're talking about like almost knocked out because of a mite. Okay. And
well, you just ruined it for anybody watching. That was my video
right.
for this week.
Oh, what was it? Was it? Okay.
It will be,
well, so let's talk about that.
Yeah.
I was alarmed. I covered it. And I'm reading about this, and we don't have a miticide on planet Earth. We don't have anything to man-made, I should say, to counteract what is happening right now. Now, in this perfect ecosystem that we have, one of the key components, and everything's a key component, but the bees are like it. And we can't survive as a species without bees, can we? What's the story behind this, and what can we do about it?
That's a really good question. There, apparently, this miticide was working for a while, and then there was a genetic anomaly, and that generation apparently and they carried a virus, and it's the virus that was impacting the bees. But what's scary about this story is that antibiotic resistance of everything, with how much of our medication is ending up in water systems, and bacteria, mites, all of these organisms are being exposed. Eventually, they're going to gain some kind of resiliency because things try to balance. And at that point, we have no defense mechanisms against certain diseases, against things like mites with viruses that are impacting bees. So that's, when I did that show, Cocaine Sharks for Shark Week, that was a big focus of mine. And the big reason why I did the show was to expose, or educate, I should say, all of the chemicals that we were introducing to the ecosystem.
The future us. This is my prediction, right? Okay, so we can talk about 5 or 6 mass extinction events in our history, right? And then there's going to be the next one, the 7th one. And in the future, a smaller part of humanity is going to survive, right? And flourish and grow again. But there's going to be documentaries made in the future of what caused the 7th extinction event. And it's going to be the bees. You watch. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I know. And what can be done about it?
I mean, that might even be part of the 6th mass extinction, which we're in right now. I mean,
yeah. I know. But ultimately, what can be done if we see the warning signs, and the warning signs are everywhere today?
Yeah.
What can be done specifically about the honeybees? Can we do it without a new miticide?
What you said something really, really important earlier. And it was that people respond to fear. Well, people also respond, because fear is part of it, when we get to a point that it's almost too late. Like the effects are there, and then we start putting Band-Aids on everything. And then it's a game of whack-a-mole. And that's where we are with most things right now. Like we'll put Band-Aids on things because we think it's cheaper, but in the long run, it's always costs more, and it's more devastating to public health, economy, ecosystem services. And I think that with the bees, we're at that point where there's going to be a Band-Aid. A lot of grant funding will go to finding a new miticide. I mean, that's just my guess. I don't know enough about what's been tried. From what I see or what I read, it looks like they've exhausted all options, but hopefully, hopefully they can figure out how to get rid of this one, this one generation of this resistant mite. Or maybe
okay, can you, I know this is going to sound crazy, it might be out of your wheelhouse, but can we genetically modify the mites and have them, create a new version of mite?
that's it. Oh yeah, I understand, because we did it with mosquitoes, right? Like
did it with flies.
Yeah. And yep. We try to fight biology with biology. And sometimes it goes very wrong, and sometimes it works out. Like in the Keys, I think the whole mosquito thing actually worked out, but a couple other places with other species, disaster struck. I mean, what was it? The Beaufort frog, the cane toad in Florida that's now invasive. They brought it over to help with sugarcane agriculture. There's stories like that all over the place.
Again, back to my point. Earth is conscious, and it is giving us the finger right now. And we have to, I'm not being cavalier. I'm not being cavalier. And we can have all of the warning signs around us. And then there's a flip side to this, that maybe this is just how it goes, that it may be completely out of our control. It's maybe sometimes you're not meant to fix things.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we're just meant to deal with these mistakes for the next, that generation that you speak of in the future. They can learn from them, but there's so few people that learn from mistakes, aren't there? Like somebody else's mistake, especially.
Well, so let me get back to the question I wanted to ask earlier.
Yeah.
What is consciousness?
I still can't answer that. It's like, because when I think of consciousness, I think of decisions being made and choices being made, but in the context of the earth and the consciousness of the earth, it's almost like, rather than decisions, it's responses, kind of learned through, just like genetics, instinct. I don't know. What would you say? What would your definition be?
I'm getting closer to the idea that consciousness exists outside of the physical. I'm leaning more towards that. And physics, searching for dark energy, right, out there, and what is, and I'm kind of the thought process now. I haven't heard anybody else talk about this, so I don't know if it's an original idea of mine or if it was downloaded to me or whatever. I don't know. I don't have a clue. But maybe that dark energy that we're chasing out there is consciousness. And that's just it. And it is universal and exists everywhere. And I'm kind of leaning towards that. Yeah. Now, how does it come and find us? I don't know.
Yeah.
When
could that be God?
Could it be? Yes. Yeah. I think I talk about that all the time. And the reason why, I'm not sure, this is a great question for you. I'm not sure how RNA and DNA and particles combined to make us. It seems against all odds. The odds of that happening just by accident, I think, are too extreme. So is there something intelligent behind it? That thing that we call God today, or that definition, is that just floating around in space as dark energy, consciousness, all knowing, that has been there forever and gets smarter all the time? What do you think?
I mean, it sounds plausible. I mean, these are all theories, and that sounds like it should be one being discussed more often. Yeah, this is a really interesting conversation.
Yeah, well, we see
Yeah.
this is what you and I would do over dinner. And I love, that's what this show has always been about. Just let's start where we start and we end where we end, and let's see what we can learn. But I think these are non-trivial subjects. These are the biggest subjects, and it's the future of all of us. I'm not sure what ghosts are, or the supernatural, or the paranormal. I'm fascinated with it. But when ET lands, they will eventually. I think that's what they're going to tell us, Tracy. They're going to go, forget about the cure for cancer or pollution. It's all about consciousness. And I just hope that this planet is ready for that kind of discussion. I don't think it's going to be a technical alternative to the future of us. I think it's going to be consciousness based. That's my take.
That's interesting. So if we realize the connectivity between all of us, the living and non-living, then we would be able to cure everything, because we would have all the resources at our fingertips, so to speak.
Right. When, you brought up trees, you want evidence. This is to the world, not to you. I think you get it. But you want evidence of something like that being conscious and getting it and understanding. A tree will part its leaves so the sun can get to a baby tree. That's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And like I've always said, that empathy is the sign of an evolving species. And again, that just is another reason to believe that trees are just that smart. Like in the fact that when something is coming and there's danger to some trees, they will send out that message and alert the other trees. Like that is mind blowing.
It is mind blowing. They
And
have
with
their
the humans,
own
we're all out for
911.
ourselves.
Yeah, they have their own 911 emergency alert system. And so, and what Tracy is saying, everybody, just picture this for a second. You have a big forest in front of you. Some invasive bug lands on the first tree. First tree goes, oh shit, and will start to emit their own pesticide to get rid of this bug. But what they do is alert the forest. Dude, start cranking it out, because here they come. That's nuts. And if you want evidence of a conscious planet, I give you that. I think it's extraordinary.
Exactly.
Do you remember? You're too young. There's a band called Rush.
Of course, I know Rush. The drummer was the best musician and most creative musician probably ever, the singer drummer,
Yes,
ever to exist.
Okay, so you get a pass card. You get a hall pass. I just wrote you out a hall pass. But they had a song on one of their albums called Trees. Okay. And that came out in the late 1980, 79, 80.
Wow, it was before I was born.
Yeah. And I was just a kid, right? But I'm listening, I'm reading the lyrics to that. And it was all about exactly what we are talking about. I didn't get it as a kid, but Rush was speaking to a whole generation about this subject. And it's been out there for a long time. And we used to just dismiss it as, like Lord of the Rings or some kind of fairy tale. But no, this is how the planet works, period.
That's amazing. I am definitely going to listen to that song tonight, because it doesn't surprise me that Rush is the band that would have authored that song.
They impacted. I mean, when I was a kid, smoking weed and listening to Rush was like the best parents any teenager could have. I mean, it was total guidance on right from wrong. I'm serious. It was like,
no, I know that just explains a lot, because we had Nirvana, Pearl Jam, and STP, and those weren't teachers. Yes. Yeah. Black Hole Sun.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a deeper meaning in there, but yeah.
So, okay, I want to stay on this subject, but then we have some of these other ideas that have been talked about for a long time about geoengineering and chemtrails and government manipulation of weather systems. Is this imagination? Is this crazy conspiracy theory, or is this reality?
So I think with every rumor, there's some truth, or it started from somewhere. And what I found out this week was that a lot of it came from the Vietnam War. Apparently, we used cloud seeding. Now, Vietnam, it was during monsoon season, so there were plenty of clouds around. So it's questionable how much impact it had. But they did use it and denied it. Now, cloud seeding is a very localized technique. You don't create clouds. You don't create the weather. And you just, if there is a cloud, you can encourage it or nudge it to precipitate by putting particles into the cloud that water can coalesce around and then drops. But I think that is the fact that people felt like that was hidden from them has created this situation where what else are they hiding? You know what I mean? And it's unfortunate because it's the most interesting part of the whole thing is, in my discussions with conspiracy theorists this week, is that they were like, yes, we're modifying weather with cloud seeding, but climate change isn't real. It's a hoax. And I was like, no, the 50 billion tons of chemicals that we're putting to the air does nothing. But your 3 to 5 grams, that's where it's at.
Right. And so to get this cloud seeding done, there must be infrastructure and logistics behind it. You got to have the planes, you got to have the tanks, you've got to have the companies that are manufacturing the materials, you have to have the pilots flying the planes, you have to have the ground crews, you have to have the infrastructure in place, the team of engineers and climate scientists that are also behind. So it can't be entirely hidden, but it is something that has been hidden from us, because finding evidence of it, the hard copy, that's been tough for these citizen scientists that are out there investigating this.
Right.
The real proof seems to be kept from us that this is going on.
But the truth is that anywhere in the United States, if cloud seeding is done, they have to report it to NOAA. And from what I understand,
really, is that true?
They have to. It's a law. So the states that do it are those stricken with drought, like Texas, Utah, Wyoming, I think some parts of California too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
About 10 years ago, okay, check this out, and I'm not making this up. About 10 years ago, I see a news story in a local paper. It's online for Burbank, California. I see the article, and the article is funding approved for cloud seeding installations in the foothills of Burbank. So I was like, what? So I read the article, 7, the number is 7 cloud seeding stations were being built in the foothills of Burbank to cloud seed, because we were in the middle of a drought at that time. That was like 8 years running. Right. And so I report on the story. I do it on Coast to Coast, and I do it on Fade to Black, and I've got it vetted, right? The story. So I do the story, And then a few people came back to me going, where did you read this? I said, it's right here. Click 404, page not found. Yeah, they took the article down.
Oh,
I
were they
couldn't believe it.
Were they getting so much pushback?
Somebody wasn't supposed to post that article.
I don't know. Like, okay, so we had increases of bacteria on our coast, and people found out that it was because we had aging and old infrastructure, which is the case on every coast. The county took that page on I&I, infiltration, inundation, down. It looked so sketchy. It's a thing that happens all over the place. It's just a fact. I learned about it in school, like it's a thing. But the rich people in Sarasota didn't understand why we would have aging infrastructure. So the county just took it down and it looked super shady. I bet you, I mean, you know, there's a million reasons why they could have taken it down. But if they were getting a lot of pushback and a lot of people complaining.
It's always about the money, isn't it? It's always about the money.
And people really protect their mental health instead of like and this is my big thing with science communication. And I know that a lot of scientists don't agree with how I do things. Because I really focus on the communication outward rather than writing publications. When I'm old, I'll write.
Right.
But I feel like so many times people get scared or worried, and their first reaction is to make it go away or to backtrack on what they said instead of moving forward with it, owning it, and explaining it. And I think that is really dangerous, and that fuels a lot of conspiracies. It's kind of like when you're using mosquito repellent on your lawn and you don't do the whole thing, you know, and it comes back with a vengeance if you don't get it all.
The information about nature should be ours. On every level, if it's natural. I'm not talking about Russian nuclear secrets.
Right.
Okay. All right. I understand. You know what? I don't even want to know about that stuff.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Don't want to know.
But when it comes to nature, ET, life out there, that's natural. That's a nature thing. Our cosmos, this planet, things that we need to be aware of that are naturally occurring. That's our right as humans. And yet it seems to be one of the first things that gets suppressed. Why do you think that is?
I think it depends on the situation, or it depends on the topic. But I mean, in that case with the I&I, it was just they didn't want to deal with the hysteria from the public. Sometimes, like I think that with Area 51, things were weird, right? Because it was almost like they wanted people to believe that aliens were there so they can hide something else. You know, there's always, and these games is why people think that we're causing hurricanes or steering them, you know, which we cannot do, by the way.
We can't? Oh, don't kill it for me.
We cannot. They actually tried to seed a hurricane to make it drop more rain before landfall. It completely failed. So they have abandoned that completely, because it really didn't make sense. The cycle of the hurricane, it would just keep on feeding the water back into the hurricane.
Okay. Here's the $1 million question.
Yeah.
Are natural disasters always natural?
Oh, that's a good question too. I have a really hard time saying natural disaster sometimes. Just because, you know, what we were talking about before with, you know, cloud seeding versus the chemicals that we're putting in the atmosphere for, you know, and you can't link any one weather event to climate change. It's just not how it works. It's two different things. But we do know that the occurrence of extreme weather events can increase with a warming planet. We just know that combination exists. Right now with the floods, we're getting so much rain because we have such a humid atmosphere. It's just dropping the water that's up there.
Well,
And
you mentioned cloud seeding in Texas, right? Because of the drought.
yeah,
And then we have one of the gnarliest, saddest, traumatic natural disasters that I can remember
yeah.
over this past week. Now, before, I don't want to be that guy.
No, let's do it. Let's get into it.
Well,
I made a video on this.
Okay, well, it's only because of I'm a dad, and when it comes to that and children and suddenly my empathy just goes into overdrive, and I'm very saddened by it. But right, if there's something else nefarious that is involved here, it does need to be discussed. But I'm not sure. Are the two connected?
No, they're really not. The cloud seeding activity went it was outside the area. It was days prior, and they seeded 2 clouds that dissipated long before the storms came. You cloud seed at 5 to 15,000 feet, whereas this storm, and we know this because of radar, this storm started in high altitude, like 50 or 60,000 feet. This was a massive precipitation event. It was remnants of bury a low pressure system, and you just had the perfect storm. And I run a kids camp, so that event really, and especially I'm a hydrologist working on a platform to alert people of flooding, because I saw the holes in it. You have meteorologists communicating hydrology, and just, no offense to meteorologists, but they do not respect hydrology. They think that they know how it works. The problem with flash flooding, especially this one, is that the rainfall, so much rainfall fell. It wasn't like a watershed scale, like a hurricane event or something like that, where the water came down after days of accumulation and there was a flash flood on a sunny day. It wasn't like that. It was precipitation that only one of our models got. And that when that radar happened, or when they saw that radar, they got the alert out in 200 minutes beforehand, which is the most ever. But it wasn't enough in the middle of the night. Cloud seeding did not have anything to do with this event.
And you know what? The other thing always happens, and we'll talk more about this after the break, but there are those that will immediately jump. It was HAARP.
HAARP's the same thing. HAARP is cloud seeding. But the thing is, here's the thing. Texas has been on this regular cadence of these cloud seeding activities. If they were successful, they wouldn't have been in a drought anymore. The soil moisture would have told a different story. But a lot of these events, they get no rain. It's 0 to 15, maybe 20% precipitation. It's not a very effective tool. I personally am not a big fan of it because of the chemicals that we're adding, even though there's mixed reviews on what those chemicals do to the ecosystem after they fall back down. But I'm just not a huge fan of it. The problem is that we are farming really economically important crops in places that are now getting drier because of climate change. And yeah, it's going to be a hard thing for us to adjust moving forward, but we have to.
You make such a good point. And then I'll ask the entire country the same question. If you live in Wisconsin in December and you're going to the supermarket and getting strawberries, where do you think those are coming from?
Right.
Those are coming from your oranges, right? You are living in the winter. Those are coming from California. All right. All of those tomatoes, all of that lettuce, all of that stuff that you enjoy comes from California. But the California Central Valley, which goes from Sacramento all the way to San Diego, not too far from my house. I mean, all of the strawberries for the planet come from Camarillo.
Crazy,
Right?
right?
Yeah, it's insane to see. And you know what? They're really good strawberries too. But
I bet.
anyway, they're amazing. But we have been going through a drought. Rivers dried up, reservoirs dried up. This is big news. And if there's weather manipulation, if there's geoengineering, if there's cloud seeding, why didn't we have an active program for the Central Valley of California that virtually dried up? It's okay now. Maybe that's because of geoengineering. I don't know. But you know what I mean? We went through an 8-year dry up here in the Central Valley that provides all of those wonderful fruits and vegetables for the country and the world year round. So why didn't we have a geoengineering and active program for the California coast?
Because if there are no clouds, there's nothing to seed.
Oh, you can't. I heard you say that earlier. You mean we can't just create clouds?
No.
What? Explain.
I know. Yeah. So you need to have that moisture in the atmosphere to make the moisture drop. If you don't have that moisture accumulation, you're just throwing crap in the air, Like, so you need the clouds. That's why people asked why we weren't cloud seeding during the wildfires. There were no clouds. And then, of course, we got the atmospheric rivers. Gosh, we have had some catastrophic events this year. Catastrophic.
Yeah.
You need clouds to cloud seed.
I did not. You can't create cloud. What
You
are
do
cloud?
not
Okay,
create
help me understand. You're the PhD, and right now I'm the student taking notes. I am learning something right now. How would you, Tracy? How would you create clouds if you could?
I mean, you really can't. You would have to mess with the pressure systems, the humidity. You would have to get an Earth systems approach to change local cloud cover. There are techniques. I did this with my interns, air to water technology. It's just really energy intensive. Obviously, if that worked on a large scale, or if it was scalable, we'd be doing that too. But yeah, we can't create clouds. We don't. And we haven't found any way to destroy, create, or determine the direction or the path of a hurricane either.
We're going to take our break right here. I keep listening. The sirens are coming from you.
Oh, yeah, they are. I'm sorry.
Well, so no. I don't have sirens. We were talking about that earlier.
Right.
Today,
right. There's
right. So when I hear, I'm like, what's going on? But
it's the lightning. The lightning was crazy.
It's the geoengineering. So let's take our break right here. Our guest tonight, Dr. Tracy Fanara, is with us. We're talking about Gaia. We're talking about Mother Earth. We're talking about geoengineering. We're talking about all of that stuff. And of course, the future of us. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this short break. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get your alerts and access to over 2,000 videos. Click that subscribe button right now. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and get the Fade to Black official podcast. 2,000 episodes, all of them commercial free for just $2 a month. watch Into the Vortex on Gaia TV. It's Fade to Black for the screen. Simple to do. Go to Gaia.com, search Jimmy Church, or click on the link below. Follow Fade to Black on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Get all of the show updates every single day. It's now called X, but who cares? How you doing? Jimmy Church here. Special announcement. Get your Fade to Black t-shirts. That's right. Help support the show. Help support everything that we do over here. We've got 2 t-shirts. We've got 2 ways to get them. Get your Fade to Black t-shirt today. Go Backley Tappy. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and become a Fadernaut. Get a membership. That's right. Everything is commercial free. You have access to downloads, and you get to call yourself a Fadernaut.
Jimmy Church, Gaia TV, Fade to Black, here at Machu Picchu with Brian Forster and Hidden Inca Tours. Amazing tour so far, Brian, but we're here to announce what we're going to do next year in 2026. What's going on?
Okay, November 2026, we're going to have our major tour of Peru and Bolivia, either a pre or post tour of Paracas and Nazca on the coast. And then after that, 6 days in Easter Island.
Bucket list, Easter Island. Come join Brian and I and his amazing team here at Hidden Inca Tours for Peru, Bolivia, and Easter Island. Signing out. Say goodbye, Brian.
Bye, gang.
River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Truly the best coffee on planet Earth. Just visit rivermoonwellness.com or their Amazon store. It's all simple to do. You can check out the Fade to Black blend, the Game Changer blend, or any of their Black Moon Wellness products. It's the only coffee I drink. It is the best, and it's Doc. Again, rivermoonwellness.com.
All right. Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Dr. Tracy Fanara is with us. We're talking about, Gaia Theory, climate change. We're going to get into some ghosts. I have the feeling in a little bit, but and the future of us, all of that and much more. Now, Tracy, what I wanted to ask about, because we have so many, including the Bible, but we have so many prophecies and the end of times, and we've been given certain dates. And here we are, 2025, where it seems that we are in this perfect situation of dead ocean zones. The pole is about to be over Russia. Right. That's and all of these things are happening at the same time. Now, were some of these prophecies accurate, or is this just nature and something that we've been through before? And is it just something that the sun and the cosmos has created? How do we separate myth from truth?
Wow, those are some big questions. All of these books were written by humans at some point who knew humans and knew our 7 deadly sins, knew our best of what we are, had been through, floods and wars and all these things. And that's
Plagues.
Plagues. Right. That's where these things are written from. And history does repeat itself. And I mean, it seems like, I know this is going to sound terrible, but I would have hoped we would have, gotten better than we have over time. We've gotten better technologically. That's for sure. We've gotten better at putting Band-Aids on problems, gotten more creative with that. But but have we really learned? You know, like, are we just playing out what the people of the past knew? You know, kind of like you go to a psychic. Some of them are good. Some of them are just reading you.
Well, man, you're scaring me. And let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. Before technology, there were plagues, and there were floods, and there were asteroid and meteor collisions. Right? There were things that were completely out of our control. These things just happened. So now here we are today, where the discussion about climate change is a real one. Is it man-made? Are we instigating this? Or is this just nature playing the cards? Or is it a mix of both?
I mean, it's a reasonable question, right? Because the earth will always balance itself. There's always some sort of something, just like the Gaia theory, some positive feedback with negative feedback loop, whether we were here or not, right? There's a whole bunch of things that happen on earth regardless. We've had, frozen tundras, and we've had water planets. But the difference is now we are changing that natural cycle. And we're changing it because all of these things are connected. When we warm the planet by basically creating a barrier that heat can't escape, we are building this sauna, which changes how much water is held where. It changes how everything moves, air, water, and then impacts the ecosystems, animals, where they get their food, where there's production, where water flows, and of course, where there's drought, where there's flood, and other natural phenomena, or, let's not use that word natural, I guess, other phenomena. So, yeah, Earth has a cycle, but we know that we are changing that cycle. We are accelerating the warming process. Some people ask about solar radiation, like, is that why, they kind of say that it's the sun. But during the year where we had less solar activity, when we should have been cooling, we weren't. We were still warming. We did have a period of global cooling. I don't know if you remember back in the 70s. And that was because we were putting aerosols into the atmosphere and putting a big hole in our ozone layer.
So we need to go back to Aquanet, right?
No,
Hairspray.
well, that's the thing.
Right?
That's a really good question. So some of the theories of these Band-Aids for climate change do involve pollution. Anytime a volcano erupts, a little bit cooler, you know what I mean? But the thing is that overall, it's not doing us any favors for our health. And the fact that it put a hole in the ozone layer that we have taken decades, that hole was put there pretty darn fast. And it has taken how many decades now? Like 40
About
decades?
30, yeah, 30 years, yeah.
To close it, and we're still not done. It's amazing how everybody came together to create a solution to a problem. But at the same time,
Was that much aerosol being sprayed? That I don't know.
It wasn't like hairspray. We still sell aerosol hairspray. It was mass amount. Yeah, you can go to the store and get aerosol hairspray.
Can you really? You can still buy it? You remember the
aerosol deodorant? Yeah, you can still buy that.
Aerosol deodorant. Yeah, sure. Right Guard.
Yeah.
But I often wondered about that. Here's okay. All right. You're the PhD. When a report comes out and you read about it and it gets published, right? Do you go and see who funded said report? Because you can have arguments on both sides, right? And so you just go and see who's funding this because somebody's trying to steer the conversation.
I totally understand that. So especially when papers go against what I have experienced to be true in my research, that's when I'm like, there's something weird here. Like anything. So the evidence at this point is pretty clear that we are creating a situation where the planet is warming, or we're accelerating it. I'm not saying that we're 100% to blame for everything that happens, but we are influencing the global temperature, right? So whenever I see anything that says something like it's red flag, because it's like, guys, we're already here. Now we need to be focusing on solutions. And I feel like the deniers just keep on pulling us back
right
from a solution. And a lot of times, those papers are funded by, you really have to go back. You have to
it's Monsanto,
Right. Yes, the Koch brothers. Yes. Oil and gas companies.
Yes. Yeah.
Which
pharmaceutical companies.
Doing. Yeah. And now that who was it? Exxon or BP? They had made reports that they knew about climate change many decades ago and just communicated the exact opposite.
Yeah. Cigarettes don't cause cancer.
Right. Oh my gosh. Do you remember that? Can you?
I do.
And you know what the crazy thing is about cancer causing chemicals? Sorry, I'm not going to go there because that'll totally bring us in a new direction.
Yeah. Go ahead. Continue though. Now you got my curiosity. Oh, I read, not to take us in another direction, that nicotine cured COVID. Right. And I was just like, what? Oh man.
How did I miss that one? I'm so disappointed.
Yeah. Nicotine cured COVID. So if you're a cigarette smoker, you didn't get COVID. But yeah, I look to that all the time. Who is funding said research?
Right.
And I always go there. And you can kind of, a report was released, I think it was yesterday, this study that meat production is not sustainable. And then
nothing is sustainable.
Nothing is sustainable.
Nothing is sustainable. It's entropy. It's just not. Sustainability doesn't really exist.
The second law of thermodynamics will bite you in the ass every time. It's just that, including us, in the end, entropy wins. It's just, it's the way that it is. But
that's actually where Inspector Planet came from.
What's that?
That's actually where Inspector Planet came from. My company.
By the way, the links for Inspector are below, everybody. We have them on our website. It's a great website. And we have it in social media too as well. So go and click and check out Tracy's stuff over there. It's pretty cool. But so the question about methane and what is created by these large herds of cattle, but I just go back and I go, well, the dinosaurs were farting too. I'm not so sure if that is, it's part of it. It cannot not be, but I had a lot of flatulent uncles too, as well, that were contributing to this over the years. So I'm not so sure. So all I want is the truth. So how do we get to that? How do we just get to the truth and forget about the biases that are being paid for? How do we get to the truth?
All you can do is just look at the verified data. You always have to look at the methodology, even more so. Not more so, probably just as important as looking who funded a study is looking at the methodology. That's where you find all the holes. How a study was done.
As a scientist, isn't that difficult to do? To speak the truth? Yeah. I mean, that's
No.
what they don't. Well, that's what the truth is always the most difficult to get published, isn't it?
Not in my experience.
Really?
Like, yeah. Like I'm sure that some people working for private industry have had situations, but I would never go into a situation where I sign that I will not publish my results if the results are X, Y, and Z. I just wouldn't do it. I wouldn't take the funding. And that's why these grant programs are so important, because if you are funded by the government, it's all public. Like there's nothing that can be hidden in these grants. And for me, I worked for a nonprofit and then NOAA, but University of Florida too. And no one has ever tried to control what I publish, what I even talk about. So that just hasn't been my experience or my colleagues' experiences. There's been a whole bunch of other obstacles, like people think that scientists like to agree on things. Completely not true. There's so much inner fighting and hating and jealousy, and because everybody's competing. And honestly, I think that this is the detriment of science, because instead of us all working together, working towards something, we are competing, dividing our talents so that we're growing incrementally instead of the huge steps that we need to take to solve these big problems.
Why is it, especially where we are today, that conspiracy theory has become normal, where before you were just crazy and people ignored it? Now it seems to be the opposite is true. I do not do politics on the show. I don't do religion on the show. I'll do the conspiracy of politics for sure. And the
conspiracy theory really does cut through political and religious lines, I feel like. Because I think it's curiosity. I think people want a mystery. I think that we're bored because life became too easy. And we're able to explore and care about these things that don't necessarily, they might not impact you. But it's almost like fun. You have this community, this group of people in the know, these people that that think the same way as you. You guys are the special ones. You know what I mean? It gives you purpose. And
isn't that so true? But here's the crazy part. Okay, so we're talking about geoengineering and cloud seeding and chemtrails, right? So you're deep into this, man. You got your conspiracies, you're doing the rabbit hole stuff, and you're just clicking and watching the videos, and you're all into it. And then somebody says, "Yeah, man. Well, yeah, they've been cloud seeding over Texas. See, I know it was true."
You're exactly right.
Right, and then what? I knew it. So then Ronald McDonald did kill JFK. I knew it, right?
Right. You're exactly right.
Yeah. You have to go all in. You can't do part of the conspiracy.
No.
It's all or nothing.
And that's kind of why I'm shocked that some of these weather modification conspiracy theorists don't see the contradiction in denying climate change. That blows my mind. But you're exactly right. That's why it's so important for transparency, because otherwise people will finish the story. They find out one part of the truth and they just make up the rest. And I just realized that, this is a lesson for everybody, right? Half truths, they can really grow out of control. You think that you're doing the right thing by, saving someone's feelings or not confusing them or just being as simple as possible. And it just blows up in your face.
It does. It does. When I was a kid, my sophomore year in high school, and getting my yearbook signed, right? Funnest day of the year, right? The new yearbook, and you're going around and so anyway, I take my yearbook to our next door neighbors. I lived on an army base in Central America, in Panama. But my next door neighbor, they were young. I was probably 15, but they were in the army, in the military, but they were probably 18 years old, right? 19 years old, husband and wife, just a few years older than me. But anyway, and this guy, Stephen Tree, he signed my yearbook. The best signing in the entire year. This is what he wrote. One line, Jimmy, things are never what they seem. Steve.
Wow.
Right. Changed my life. Yeah, changed my life. And I'm like, what do you mean everything, man? Nothing. It's all a lie. And it just like, wow. But maybe he was right. And here we are today where not only with media, but research grants and the military and science, NOAA being defunded, whatever. It's just like, where do we go for the truth now? Or is it just all painted in front of us and it's just not a reality? I don't even know how to navigate it anymore.
Yeah, it's almost like some of it is accidental, right? But some of it is that if you teach them that they can't trust anyone, then they won't, and they will just listen to you. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's a lot of that going on too. Just completely disrupting the trust to have control.
Right. I mean, it appears I don't do politics. I'm not going there right now.
Nope, we're not.
But I will say this. Defunding research on every level across the board, medical research, educational research, climate research, NOAA, the National Endowment of the Arts, the National Science, the NSF, right? You just go and it's just like, wait, what? I don't know if this is a good thing. I don't see the positive side. I can't. I don't see it there. And then we have something like Texas happen, and you just go, well, wait a minute. We just defunded all of this, and it's going to continue. But this is research, and this is science, and this is education, and this is the future and the foundation, the very fabric of all of us. I think that's a dangerous zone to go into. And you're a part of this, aren't you? You're living it.
Yeah, very much so. Today the House mark came back and NOAA only got a 6% reduction, which was wonderful. There's a lot of people, being very vocal about things. And then we had those disasters come to play the week before the House marked up the budget. Now, the other science agencies, I don't think are going to get so lucky. NIH, NSF, NASA, USGS, NASA, EPA. EPA is the one that really breaks my heart, because that's how I got into this, was industries creating a situation where the innocent had to deal with their laziness and their economic gain for decades with cancer and other illnesses. And to cut back EPA and the regulations that protect our health. That is an economic bomb waiting to happen, A, and B, it's just not ethical. But I think the good thing, I'm going to give you some optimism here. And don't get me wrong, cutting funds for science is not a good thing, but we needed a little shakeup. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that it was done right.
You're so right. You're so right. Look. I am all about the science. I'm also full woo. Okay, I'm full woo. I love the crazy stuff, but the science supports my woo and keeps me from going crazy. Okay, but when I read about some of it, I go, well, this is actually a good thing. It's really weird. Sometimes you got to start over, and maybe this is how it's done. I agree with you. It hurts, but
yeah, it could have been done a million better ways. We could have found efficiency and shooken up, like, made it so people weren't so comfortable getting the same funding, and basically equaling the playing field, giving PIs that had never gotten funding opportunities a chance, so that we have more scientists in the field and we're not, driving them to private industry or whatever. So there's a million better ways we could have done it, because the psychological and just overall environment impact that the past 7 months have had has been awful. Like, I'm so glad that I took the buyout, because Hunger Games is not my thing. Like, I'm all about teamwork. But I really hope that at least some good will come to this. And I'm saying this optimistically, because NOAA only got a 6% cut. I am very much still worried about the missions of USGS, the EPA, and NSF. And NSF is where a lot of that grant funding comes from. So if they're cut, then we are halted in science. But USGS, people don't even realize what they do. People think that they just do volcanoes and just do rocks. They do all of our streams, that flooding. Their gauges are extremely important. Not only that, they do a lot of the pollutant impacts, insecticides, herbicides, ecotoxicology work, water quality that NOAA doesn't really do for freshwater sources. There's just, and then of course the EPA, like those are and I did work for the EPA and for USGS as well. And they have even a quieter voice than NOAA did. The one that I'm surprised about is NASA.
Yeah, 2,000 immediately this week will be laid off.
Which is
fired. No. It's the cosmos. It's all important, right? I think that they're all equal, the different branches of science and research. But NASA is NASA, and the future is the cosmos for us on so many different levels. But then I look at here's the crazy part. Now I will be the loud voice in the room. Okay, this is the truth. With all of this stuff, the education system, right, which is being dissolved, and of course NSA and NSF and NASA, NOAA, the USGS, and so many others. Those aren't the only agencies. But how many billions are being saved? Okay, it's in the billions, but it's not ultimately affecting our national debt. And at the same stroke of the pen, we're going to drop $1 trillion into defense.
I know.
And it's like, wait a minute here. Okay, so we have billions in these agencies with all of these layoffs. It's in the billions. It's not $500 billion. It's not 250. It's just in the billions.
With respect to everything, as a drop in the bucket.
Yeah. It's like, well,
I know.
But
and I'll tell you what, NASA, no one, you mentioned the cosmos, but what a lot of people don't realize is that when it comes to sustainability on Earth, our technologies to actually get us through this next step and overcome the obstacles that we have created or not, NASA are the ones that created completely sustainable systems. So my work with NASA was on an aquaponic system. So basically, wastewater, your poop water, your shower water, would go into a tank where algae and 3 different species would basically filter out that water. The nutrient cycling was engineered, and it's still a work in progress, to be so perfect that it was a completely self-sustaining system. The only input was sunlight. If we can do that, if we can clean water like that, if we can create food sources like that, we can solve so many problems. I mean,
Yeah, it's all about the water and the air.
yes,
Without either of it, we ain't shit. To
that's
be
why,
honest with you,
right? And that's why.
Sorry for the
EPA
pot. I apologize for the potty mouth, but I'm very emotional about
Right.
this subject. Let me get okay. You want a real world example talking about water and air, right? And that is a hydrogen based propulsion system for cars. And when you look at that, just the idea is crazy town. You mean we take hydrogen, we throw that over a piece of metal, electricity is created running the engine, and then the hydrogen combines at the end into water vapor out of the tailpipe, goes back into the ecosystem, creates water, right? And you have a self-sustaining cycle where you are not creating waste and you can breathe the tailpipe with your nose. Now, that sounds pretty cool to me,
Yeah.
but nobody wants it. It
It's-
doesn't make sense, does it? Water and air, right? The two things are used for this engine, right? That's it.
Yeah.
And
And it's got to be a scalability thing. Like there's got to be something, some obstacle, unless it really is funding. I mean, that's why we're so behind with solar, you know, like not that we're behind, but we need improvements like batteries, like that kind of thing. But can you imagine if we actually put all of the funding that we put in all of these other energies into those renewables? Like, and I don't know enough. I did an interview with a company that breaks apart the water and then water comes back together, just like you were explaining, and hydrolysis. It was just like mind blowing. I'm like, why aren't we doing this? And they seem to think that they have a clear path. So if that is correct, and they're not just like, if their heads just like aren't in the clouds, and that is correct, it's a really good question. Why aren't those groups being funded?
it's not monetized. They can't monetize it like the petrodollars and petrochemicals are monetized.
Which doesn't even make sense. Like, why? This is going to be weird for me to say, but why is gas more expensive than water? And I say that
Not for that much longer. Not for that much longer. Yeah.
Right. We are not giving water the value it deserves. We're polluting it, then we're deep well injecting it. We're getting rid of the very little fresh water that we have. No one wants to afford reverse osmosis.
Yes.
So it's
desalinization. Right. I think the biggest desalinization plant is in Saudi Arabia or UAE. It's off the coast there. Sense. Yeah.
Lots of money.
Right. Lots of money. They can afford to do it. It's an expensive process, but they don't have any water. I mean, I've seen the movie Dune.
Right.
Right. And that makes a lot of sense. And we are very, very close to being at that kind of tipping point. But back to, when you look at the hydrogen fuel cell, it is like the perfect solution to so many different things. It's not the solution to my Harley because I love the smell of, burning fuels.
I love the smell of gas too. It's so weird.
Yeah, I know. When I go to a car race, and I do it as often as I can, but when you go to a car race, doesn't matter. Go to a car race, go to a racetrack, and the first time all the cars roll past you at speed and that exhaust floats into the stands, oh, there's nothing more glorious than that. It's just like, oh, yeah, I know. It's bad.
I know. It's so funny because this kind of brings me back to the whole like the smoking and COVID thing. Because I always think about the fact that our air pollution quality is declining. because we're putting more and more into that. I shouldn't say that, because in a lot of places it has improved from previous decades. So I shouldn't say that. But I do always think, what if I'm in I was at ground zero days after 9/11, and I remembered the smell and the not being able to breathe. I was not wearing a mask like an idiot. I was running, even worse. And I was thinking to myself, do smokers have an advantage? Because
Hear me
out. Okay, it's like midnight my time. Just an FYI, I'm a little delirious at this point, but the reason why I'm asking is because their lungs are so used to polluted air, whereas me, even the littlest bit of cigarette smoke and I'm coughing, my throat closes up.
Right.
So I always wonder, the truth of that. But they end up with cancer, the people that have been around a lot of exhaust for many years.
It is such a fascinating subject, because I moved to California in 1984. Okay, we're in 2025, so a little over 40 years ago. But when I moved here, I moved to Pasadena. And at that time, and this is not an exaggeration at all, it was the peak of pollution in California. And we would have pollution alerts on the news every day, right? A scale. Okay, today's an 8. Tomorrow it's going to calm down to a 6. But you went outside and you felt and saw the air. You could see it. It was green. And in on a bad day, you couldn't see across the street. In the middle of the day, the green air, green. This is not an exaggeration. So I could stand out in front of my house and look down Lake Boulevard into downtown Pasadena, and it was a wall. You couldn't see the next block. Okay? That's not California now.
Oh my God.
Okay, now it's clear blue skies. It's clear everywhere every day. So the change, although it was gradual, it's real. And I look back to those days in the 80s where the air, you could taste it. That on days like that, Tracy, no exaggeration, you couldn't take a deep breath. It hurt. It hurt.
That's
you couldn't
crazy.
take a deep breath.
That's crazy to think about.
You had to take small breaths.
Oh my God.
You had to breathe like that. You couldn't go, oh. No, you would collapse. It hurt.
Can you imagine a world without regulations on air pollution and air quality? That's where we would be in a lot of places. I know that the smog in California with the air layers, that's a whole different thing, but still.
Yeah, and people, they can rag on the regulations that we have here in California. Everything is 49 state compliant when it comes to automotive stuff. And like my Harley, I can't make changes to the bike. California has its own regulations, exhaust, speed, this, that, carburation. But we had to do something. And we took very radical steps here in California. When I'm telling you that I couldn't see my neighbor's house across the street because of the green funk that was smog and pollution that would just come in and sit, it's because of the climate of California and everything else. It would just sit on the ground. Green funk. I could go up to the mountains behind my house. Now, you're a climatologist. This is stuff that you deal with. So just imagine this in your head. And this is not made up. I could go up to the mountains, Mount Wilson behind my house, Mount Low, and climb up trails and get above the cloud line. Okay. And then look down. And it was just a blanket of green. Green.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Not imagine it. Green, like nasty. Yeah, it was really that bad. And now today everything is clear blue skies. So it was radical what we've done, but we did turn it around here.
like that really makes me think about, the fact that you actually saw that, but a lot of these people that probably are annoyed by it never lived through that. You know what I mean? It's kind of like when I was younger, I would speed, and I would speed all the time. I would like hit 120. Like I had a manual Mustang. I was making money for the first time, so I'd get a ticket, I'd pay it. But I was so angry at the cops every time they pulled me over. I was angry, like it was their fault. And I have come so far from that after seeing accidents where erratic drivers caused crazy, like life-threatening accidents. And now I see everything differently. And I don't know what it'll take to change the mass like thought process on that, on pollution and regulations on pollution, because really the only people benefiting are the people at the top of these businesses that punish their employees instead of taking it out of their own salary when they have to update air filters, for example. And I don't know. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing for situations like that, and thinking about the people that are just innocently exposed to pollution that's going to cause them a shorter life or a long-term illness later on that their family is going to have to deal with.
You're right. You're 100% correct on that. Here in California, and then I want to talk about ghosts really quick. But here in California, passing these radical laws to initiate the change, trust me, everybody living in LA County was tired of not being able to breathe. They had no issues with that because you're driving through the smog to get to work. You're just in pain, your chest, your kids, everything. You can't see outside. It looked like it was nighttime instead of daytime. This is not an exaggeration.
Right.
So yeah, they were just like, they were fed up with it. And so that's why it happened. There wasn't anybody that wasn't behind it.
Right.
Because everybody had to breathe the air. There's nobody that, unless you were wearing an oxygen tank, you were breathing the air. And that's why everything happened here. And we managed to clean everything up. Let's talk about ghosts. We've only got a little bit of time
Can
left.
I say one more thing on that?
Yes.
Just, that was so apparent. It's like all these other places that it's a slow burn. You know what I mean? They're being exposed in their water, their wells. They're being exposed by the land, the volatiles coming up, and they're not impacted like you guys were. How do we get those people to care just as much as you guys did when regulation?
You're not, as long as people can buy bottled water, right?
But the bottled water has less regulations.
It does, but it doesn't. You know what I mean? The mentality is there. It's so ingrained.
So crazy.
Does anybody? When was the last time? And answer me truthfully. I have a good BS meter. When was the last time you drank a glass of water out of a tap?
Oh.
Don't tell me today. Oh, that's bottled water. That's filtered water. You got a filter system.
Oh, no, I just drink it from the sink. We have pretty good water here. Here's the thing. I'm an environmental engineer. I was a water engineer.
Do you test it?
The water.
Do you test it?
No, but I'm very sensitive to change in my water. No, I mean, do I test the water? Yeah, I mean, I do a simple test, but that's not going to look at endocrine disruptors.
Man, you just struck me down. You just went, God.
Yeah,
I hit the floor. You took
I drink tap water, so we'll know if what my health situation is like in a couple, decades, and we can revisit this.
I remember that show, Tracy. You remember that show? That show? You said with Jimmy Church that, and you've got flippers now instead of arms. Whatever it is, some crazy thing. You've been ghost hunting since you were 9?
Yeah, I've always been, at 5 years old, I was sneaking away to watch The Omen. I've always had this like dark side that wanted to just know about what is going on the other side. Maybe it was because I was Catholic and learned about life after death, and I wanted proof of it. Maybe it was because my house was haunted growing up. Probably that one. My sister had it way worse than I did. But yeah, I mean, it intrigued me. It scared the hell out of her. It was interesting how it affected both of us so differently. Like, if I say Candyman around her, she cries. I mean, as an adult, and that's Candyman. That's a made-up fictional thing that she has no experience with. But
Candyman scared the crap out of me. Yeah. Candyman scared the crap out of me. So which version, the original version of the Omen, not the Liev Schreiber, but yeah.
Nope. With the little boy.
Yeah. So my mom and dad took me when it was in the theaters. So I'm going to say this is 74. I could be wrong, but like right in there, 74, 75. Took me to the theater, and I was probably 10 years old and saw that on the big screen in the theater. And I have never been that numbed
Right?
from a movie. That messed me up. That messed me up really bad. I watch it all the time now, and what a perfect film.
Right?
Yeah. On every level.
So good.
So how did this open up the doors for you in the perception of reality?
Oh, I mean, I think that religion, you're taught to believe that things that you can't see exist, right? You're taught that there is good and evil. So your brain automatically goes to, well, if there's a devil, where is he? And then, like guardian angels, like the whole thing, you're taught that there's ghosts. But then when you actually see some proof of that, or feel some proof of that, things change. And ghost hunting was all fun and games until I was at a hotel in Vegas with my ex. And that was a 4-day long gradual increase of activity that ended in him crying his eyes out and running away.
What were you guys experiencing?
So it started off little, like things moved around. So we had two adjoining rooms, but actually we didn't. We thought that they just did us a favor. We had these huge suite, right? Like these 2 huge rooms, big table, like all this stuff. And it was just us. And we're like, oh, that's so nice. Stuff kept on being moved from one room to the other, like during the day. The clock kept on moving from one nightstand to the other. Like, that doesn't even make sense to me. Even believing in ghosts, that didn't make sense to me. But I have film of it. Like, I have a video showing it move. I mean, not like in the air, but it's on one side, it's on another side. Then we started hearing the voices. Okay, so the voices in the other room. And then we would look, no one was there. Eventually, someone actually was there. And they're like, oh, you just called down? And we're like, no, we didn't. We didn't call down. And she's like, yes, you did. I talked to you. And I was like, no, we didn't. And she's like, and you're not supposed to be in this room. She closes and locks the door. Okay. We were only supposed to have the one hotel room. We leave, we come back, the door's open again. All our stuff is again moved from the one to the other. We're like, this lady is messing with us, right?
Right.
Like, obviously, that's what's happening. Then started hearing the voices again. Then we're in the one room, and we hear the door open in the other room and shut, and multiple people running, ransacking the room, we heard papers being thrown around. We heard stuff falling over. And my computer was in there with my thesis that I didn't have anywhere else. This was before Google Docs. Like, I was like, Rye, you got to go in there and you got to get my computer. And he was scared out of his mind. He took a shoe and like threw it in the other room. I'm like, what's that going to do? So I walk in the other room, all the noise stops. It all stops and nothing was touched.
What hotel was this?
It was the old Hilton, the H Hotel. I don't know what it's called now, but it's at the end of the strip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I've stayed there.
22. Yeah, I'll know. I promise I'll know the number of the room. But then things just kept on getting worse, and eventually I'm not kidding you. The shower curtain moved back and forth. We got out, went back in, moved back and forth with us in there. And then we called downstairs and we're like, we need to move rooms. And then the lady on the phone's like, why? And all of a sudden, the TV shuts off, the radio turns on. Like, it was too much. Like, I'm even getting chills talking about it. And he just lost it.
It reminds me of the movie with John Cusack. What was it called? Oh, man. Everybody, quick, before we're out of time. Hold on.
I don't know. But I promise you, up until that last moment, we were making excuses for everything. We thought that someone was robbing us, and in the bathtub.
Like, 1408. That was
I've never seen it.
Yeah, 1408.
Okay, I'm gonna have to watch it.
Look, it's just everybody's just posting it right now. 1408, 1408, 1408.
Oh wow! Everybody knows. Wow, there's people listening right now.
It's pretty funny how this is just popping up. Boom, 1408, 1408,
wow.
1408.
I feel like this is a sign because I haven't seen any messages until now.
Well, but that's exactly what he was going through. But here, when you're a scientist, and now something supernatural or paranormal is happening where it is not necessarily a transparent ghost that you can see through some energy being, something else, something interdimensional, but it's physical where things are being moved around. As a scientist, what do you think about that? That's pretty terrifying to think that something that you can't see or touch is actually moving stuff.
I mean, wind does it all the time, but I mean, you would think that if the difference in pressure can move particles and create some kind of force, then why couldn't the movement or the differential of other parameters that we might not be able to see?
You're trying to explain it away. Yeah.
You're not going to win. No, not like that one. I'm not saying that ghosts aren't real with that.
No, I'm not suggesting. See, you did learn a lesson. But what do you think? I love that. What do you ultimately think the phenomena could be? Is it energy? Is it somebody that's died and their soul hasn't left? Is it a time traveler from the future?
It's
all of the above.
Yeah, so intelligent beings, that's harder for me to comprehend. Easier for me to comprehend is energy anomalies left by a disruption in the energy balance, or some kind of microwaves, or there's things, but there's also quantum physics and the idea that perhaps there are other dimensions and we're all in the same place at the same time. I don't think that we know enough to say that this stuff couldn't be possible,
Well, we seem to see it all the time and we hear it, all the time, but because we can't measure it, we don't know. But physics is starting to support these ideas, isn't it?
Interstellar.
Oh, Interstellar for sure. Kip Thorne for sure. The Brian Greene, right? And and string theory and 11 dimensions or more, right? And what could be just right around us.
Right.
Quantum theory and quantum mechanics, I think that fully supports the craziest woo-woo that it supports Zach Bagans and Ghost Adventures. It's just like
Zach Bagans. I used to watch him every Friday night.
Man,
and then I got into the Dead Files.
Yeah. Dead Files is great too,
I love
as
it.
well. So much so that my house, I don't want to get into it, we're out of time, but my house is haunted. And I
Right now?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And so I've just made a deal with whatever's going on here. I'm not going to freak out. You're not going to affect me. Let's just like coexist. So yeah. I see stuff all the time. Stuff happens all the time. I hear stuff all the time. I just don't react.
Yeah.
What's the alternative? I react, get freaked out, and sell the house and move out?
No,
I'm not going to give in.
No, and it really does depend on how, like my sister would have someone sit on her bed every night and she would see the bed like depressed down. Mm-hmm. So it was just like too close for her to ignore. And I wonder at what point you would be like, okay, I have to get it out. Like if you can coexist, that's the ideal thing, right?
I used to get petrified scared, but I live alone. So freaking out only gets more freaky outier, right? It doesn't calm. You know what I mean? Right. And I don't want to do that to myself. So, and maybe that's what it wants, or maybe it's my lack of understanding what the phenomena is, but that doesn't change anything. And I don't want to install cameras in my house. I don't want to have somebody come over here and cleanse the place, with stuff. I think that ultimately that could aggravate it and make it worse. I'm not getting hurt, right?
That's the thing.
Yeah.
You don't want to make it or like invite anything else. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Right. If I got hit, upside the head with a flying book, that might change my attitude. But
so that happened to me in my garage when I was growing up. That was my thing. It wasn't a book. It was a CD flung at my head.
Oh, really?
And I was just learning about electrons. I'm like, oh, it must have been that the energy in this garage was total BS. A CD hit my head.
Wow.
Yeah.
One night after the show, this wasn't at this studio. It was another studio. But one night after the show, this is completely soundproofed. Okay, so like this wall here, that's covered in material. Okay, that's not a hard wall. Ceiling is done. Floors are done, right? There's acoustic paneling all over. Like let me switch cameras. That's an large acoustic panel that's tied to the wall on this wall. It covers every floor, right? Everything in here is done. It's dead silent, right? Can't hear a thing. Silent. So I wrap the show. Okay. I have noise gates on. You won't be able to hear this. But let me grab a guitar. Okay. So it's after the show. I'm sitting in the silence and I hear from behind me on the wall this. Right? And I was like,
and you know exactly what that sounds like.
What the F did that? And I spin around and I look, and I'm looking for something that fell or somehow struck. And there's, of course, nothing happened. Just the strum happened. Now, what do you do with that? What's my choice? What's my choice? My choice is the correct one for me is don't freak out. Don't get
I mean, if you have an entity that wants to play music, I think that's the least of your worries.
Yeah, I know, right. Maybe it was Jimi Hendrix stopping by.
Yeah, you have no idea who that is.
At all. Tracy, fantastic conversation tonight. And I do look forward to the next one. But where can everybody follow what you do?
At Inspector Planet on Instagram. I just started using TikTok. It's not going very well, but we'll see what happens. X, Facebook, it's all at Inspector Planet.
Thank you so much. Great conversation tonight. Keep doing what you're doing, and I am certainly looking forward to our next conversation. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you so much for having me.
Tracy Fanara, everybody. Perfect show. That was a perfect show. What a great way to kick off the week. And tomorrow night, Scott Walter is back with us, and we're going to be talking about the Lewis and Clark Secret Vault and his recent research into that. All of that tomorrow night with Scott. Tracy, thank you so much. This is Jimmy Church. All I've got is Go Beckley Tappy. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee Newman, and Michelle Freed. Special thanks to Bill, John, Dex, Jessica, Dennis, and Kevin. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music by Doug Aldrich. Intro, Space Boy. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2024 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Go Beckley Tappy.